Fatiha. السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين. مدد مدد سادات مدد مشاهد دستور مولانا شيخ محمد طريقتنا الصحبة والخير في الجميع. Allah Azze ve Celle insanoğluna her türlü şey vermiş.
Allah Almighty has given to humankind everything.
Yapacağı, edeceği irade vermiş.
And Allah Almighty has given to humankind willpower in order to take action.
İrade, Allah Azze ve Celle'nin ilmi, akıl diye bizim akıl diye hiç
Our minds cannot fathom the knowledge of Allah Almighty.
Ya Allah'ın iradesinin, Allah'ın ilminin karşısında aklımız sıfır değil, hiçbir şeydir.
And in the face of Allah Almighty's divine will and in the face of Allah Almighty's divine knowledge, our mind, our capability to think is not even below zero. It is nothing.
Onun için Allah Azze ve Celle'nin iradesine boyun eğmek lazım, başka şey değil.
Therefore, we must obey the will of Allah Almighty, and there's nothing else we can do.
Çoğu insan kendilerini akıllı zanneder.
There are many people who think of themselves to be clever ones.
Düşünür nasıldır, nedir, ne oluyor diye.
And they think of themselves to be clever ones, and they question everything, and they try to give a reason and to give a cause to everything.
Ona hiç düşünme, sen Allah Azze ve Celle seni yarattı.
But it is not up to you to decide why things happen. Things happen as they have been created by Allah Almighty, and they happen because of the will of Allah Almighty, and He's the creator of everything.
Bu dünyaya koydu, onu kendi haline bak sen.
It is Him, Allah Almighty, who placed everything into this world, and it is not up to you to be concerned about what Allah Almighty does. What you should be concerned about is yourself.
Senin başka lüzumsuz işlere bakma.
Focus and concentrate on yourself, and don't interfere with others' affairs.
Yasak olan şeylere bakma.
Don't look at what is forbidden.
Yasak, en büyük yasak Allah Azze ve Celle'nin iradesine karşı gelmek.
And what is it that is most forbidden? It is to come up against the will of Allah Almighty.
Ona soru sormak.
To oppose the will of Allah Almighty and to question what Allah Almighty does is the most forbidden thing one can do.
Ne için, ne?
Don't ask Allah Almighty why He does the things. Do not question His will.
Çoğu değil de çoğu insanlar bunu yapar.
And this is something, however, people in general do. They question things and they question Allah Almighty's divine will.
Allah istediğini yapar, istemediğini yapmaz. Sana soracak değil.
It is not up to you to object the Lord Allah Almighty, and He Almighty does as He desires and as He wills, and He is not obliged to ask you for permission.
Sen kendi haline bak.
Therefore, look at your own state, look at yourself.
Allah sana lütfuyla muamele eder.
And if you focus on yourself and to improve yourself, Allah Almighty will treat you with His mercy and His grace.
Yok, lüzumsuz işlere karışırsan sen ziyan olursun.
However, if you interfere with affairs that do not concern you, you will be ruining yourself.
Zararda olursun.
you will be losing and you will be wasting yourself.
Allah Azze ve Celle insana verdiği şeyler her şey Müslüman için faydası içindir.
All those things Allah Almighty gave to humanity are all things that a Muslim knows that they are beneficial to them.
Dünya imtihan dünyasıdır.
This world is a place of being tested.
Devamlı cennet gibi olamaz.
And we cannot expect things to be like in paradise in this world.
Ne kadar malın mülkün olsa,
Regardless of how much you may possess or how much your wealth is,
gene cennet gibi değil.
yet your life in this world is never going to be like paradise.
Muhakkak üzüntüler çok olur.
Certainly, there will be many occasions and events and many reasons for you to be sad.
Üzüntü, sıkıntı dünyanın halidir.
As we live in this world, we undergo sadness, we undergo situations of distress and unrest, and this is part of our life and part of the tests we undergo in this world.
O Allah bu şeylere verdi mi mümin olan için faydadır.
But for a believer, all these tests he undergoes, all these moments of sadness and having to undergo moments of distress are in fact a means for them to benefit and to profit.
Onlar makamını yükseltir.
Because a believer knows that every situation he undergoes that is difficult for him are just opportunities for them to raise and increase their stations and their faith.
Sevaplarını çoğaltır.
A believer knows that every adversity he undergoes is a means to increase his rewards in the divine presence.
Kafir için de eziyettir.
But for a disbeliever, moments of distress and unrest are just means for them to increase their torment and suffering and affliction.
Yola gelsin diye uyarıdır ona.
And for a disbeliever, these moments of unrest and adversities are a reminder to the disbeliever to come back to the right way and to repent.
Ama dinleyen kazanır.
Those who listen will be winning,
Dinlemeyen boşuna yaşamış olur.
and those who do not listen will have lived for nothing.
Vaktini, hayatını heba etmiş olur.
They will have wasted their time and their lives,
Kaybetmiş olur.
and they will have lost their lives, and they will be the losers.
Ne kadar sıkıntı olsa, hastalık, şuydu buydu, onlar gidince insan hiçbir şey olmamış gibi.
All situations that are difficult, whether it's distress, unrest, or disease, these are all temporary things, and once they pass by, it will be as if they had never happened.
Olur. Ama onların karşılığını almıştır.
But if you are patient, and when these moments pass by, you will have obtained great rewards.
Allah Azze ve Celle ona faydası, ecrini vermiştir.
And therefore, it's the moments of tests are opportunities for believers to obtain rewards from Allah Almighty.
Bu dünya hali, şimdiki dünya hali çok sıkıntılıdır.
And now we live in a world where it is very difficult to live. There are a lot of tests undergoing. There's unrest, disorder, and distress everywhere.
İnsanlar ne yapacağını şaşırıyorlar.
People do not know what to do.
Yapacakları şey bellidir.
But it is clear what to do.
Allah Azze ve Celle'ye sığınacaklardır.
Seek refuge with your Lord, Allah Almighty.
La melce minallah illa ileyh diyor. Allah'tan başka sığınacak yer yok.
There's no escape, and there's no sanctuary except in your Lord Allah Almighty.
Allah'tan başka bir yol yok.
There's no other way except the way of Allah Almighty,
Kaçacak yer yok.
and there's no place to escape except Allah Almighty.
Onun için bu sıkıntılara çare
The solution for all these problems is Allah Almighty.
Subhanallah. Bazı insanlar bilmeden bazı şeyler yazarlar.
And people unknowingly say or write things,
Tek çare biziz diyorlar.
and they, for example, advertise themselves and they say, we are the only solution.
Tek çare biz. Onu yazan kendisine çaresi yok.
And those who claim to be the only solutions, they themselves are not even a solution to themselves.
Onun için tek çare Allah'tır.
The only solution in reality is Allah Almighty.
Allah'a dönün.
Return to Allah Almighty,
Allah Azze ve Celle size yardım eder.
and then Allah Almighty will support you,
Her türlü iyiliği onda bulursunuz.
and you will find all kinds of goodness in your Lord Allah Almighty.
Ondan kaçan, Allah'tan kaçan hiçbir zaman hayır bulmaz.
Those, however, who run away from the Lord Allah Almighty will never find goodness,
Rahat olmaz.
and they will never find peace.
Allah yardımcımız olsun.
May Allah Almighty be our helper,
Allah dünya ahiret saadet versin hepimiz
and may Allah Almighty make us happy both in this world as well as in the hereafter.
inşallah. Ve minallah tevfik. El Fatiha.